Well, hello there, friends. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. This is your show. This is where we take a fresh look at ourselves and the world around us. And hopefully after this very brief hour we get to spend with one another, we walk away a little bit changed, a little bit closer to God, because we always find some way to weave in the topics to our spirituality. So this is your show. You take it away. So when we introduce the topic and we give the phone number, please call in if you're prompted by the Spirit. Hi, Jerry.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I am doing well on this Tuesday morning for us, afternoon for many who are listening. So greetings to one and all. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? What if this show goes so fast? Have you noticed that?
Yeah, it's definitely the fastest part of my day. I look so forward to it. You know, you and I are preparing in the morning, getting ready, thinking about what we want to talk about and present. Of course, we got a topic picked already, but how we want to go about it. And then once the listeners jump on and take over, we learn so much. But boy, it does. It just goes by very, very quickly. And I think we're going to have a lot of participation in today's show, Deb.
Mm-hmm. Today we're talking about how do you greet others. So how do you affectionately greet people? So think about it for a minute. Do you walk up? Do you give a strong handshake? Look folks in the eye? Do you embrace? I mean, there's some cultures that do that. I mean, I always talk about my Sicilian heritage. We're big huggers and kissers, and so that's a big thing. Or maybe the European style of greeting, where you kiss on either cheek. You can do that. How about a side hug? How about you just kind of just look at one another and kind of assess the situation before you reach in and give a hug or a handshake. Or maybe you just don't like that whole feeling of connecting right away. There are folks that kind of want to. They kind of want to, that doesn't even make sense. They want to maintain their boundaries. I had an uncle who very much maintained his boundaries. And so you would go to, and we all, as kids, we all tried to rush up to him and hug him. And he would lean backwards and kind of pull away. And it was like hilarious on who could get a hug out of Uncle Vinny. And so it was hilarious. And then there's the folks that give kind of what we call fish handshakes, where they barely, greet one another with a handshake. So there you go, Jerry. I'm setting the stage because I want to see where you fit into this, where I talked to Marty today about this. I mean, everybody kind of knows where I am. I'm kind of germ conscious, so they think I'm not a hugger, but I am a hugger. So it's interesting how I can reconcile that, but I'm not really big on germs.
Well, we've got phone lines that are open right now, but that doesn't stay that way for very long on this show. So please, if you've got a take on this, call now, get on board. Matt Gabensky will talk with you, put you in the queue. Debbie and I will get to you as fast as we can. 833-288-3986. 833-288-EWTN. Reach out to us today. Give us a handshake. Give us an on-air hug.
Virtual hug.
As I was thinking about this, Debbie, yes. I know there's a couple places in Scripture where both Peter and Paul talk about greeting one another with a holy kiss. And, of course, That has to be understood in context. They're talking about in the context of Christian love and at the assembly of the faithful, not just, walking down the street, hey, grabbing people you don't know and giving them a kiss.
Right.
But that doesn't necessarily translate into our relationship, say, outside of the assembly, outside of the context of Christian brothers and sisters. And I think the way that we greet others depends on a lot of factors. And here's just a few of them.
Okay.
All right, family. We're going to greet family differently than we would other people.
We may slug them.
Yeah. Our spouses in particular, obviously, we're gonna smother our kids with hugs and kisses. Our friends and then acquaintances, maybe a little bit less affection, but still respectful. Obviously, I mentioned Christian brothers and sisters. People we meet for the first time, you mentioned that. You kind of assess the situation. Cultural conditioning plays a big role in this. Like you said, some cultures are just like really physically affectionate, and it's
in
not.
Italy.
It's not weird. It's not unhealthy. It's just the way that they do that. Another couple of things, Debbie, wounds that we've suffered. You mentioned your Uncle Vinny, and he was kind of pulled. We would pull back. Maybe there was something, in his past where somebody hurt him. Someone close who really he thought should love. I don't know that, but
yeah,
anything.
No, that's a good point.
So we're talking about, what is appropriate according to respect and decorum and recognizing the dignity of the other person. So 833-288-3986. Let's get those phone lines going.
Okay, so I'm getting virtual hugs via text messaging already. So our friend Debbie already sent a hugs bitmoji to us. So I guess this
Oh,
is going to be
nice.
a really hugs and kisses show. But that's very true, Jerry. And here's the thing: when we were in Italy, it was very common to see folks, especially men, like arm in arm walking down the street. And it wasn't that they were in some kind of romantic relationship. That's the way they spoke with one another. That means that their attention was on one another, and they were walking and talking at the same time. And it was very common. And then other places we've been to, like remember when we were at the Holy Land, Jerry, there was a lot more of a distance when it came to embracing. Do you remember when we went into different neighborhoods, even in the Jewish neighborhood, then the Christian neighborhood, and then the Muslim neighborhood? It was very different. The different respect levels and the way people greeted one another, even with eye contact, which is very interesting. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about this topic, and we want to hear from you. So here's the number: 1-833-288-3986. That's the number to get on the show. Tell us how you affectionately greet people and why. What's the reason that you approach it that way? May I please share about Marty, my husband Marty? He gets
Sure.
teased. Okay, he gets teased a lot by a lot of my girlfriends because we go out on couples nights, and we go date night and all that kind of stuff, and we go to movies and dinner and stuff like that. Okay, so my girlfriends always tease that Marty will not hug them. And so they always try to get a hug out of Marty because they just assume, because I'm very affectionate and Italian and Marty's half Italian, that Marty's going to be the same way. And Marty's very kind of distant. And so it was always a big joke with my friends, like, who's going to get a hug out of Marty? And Marty sort of side hugs. So I asked him this morning, I said, okay, we're doing this show on affectionately greeting one another. I said, do you mind if I use you as an example? And he goes, sure, that's okay. And I said, what's the real reason why you don't hug my friends?
I think I know.
He said, out of respect for me.
Yeah,
Is that what
exactly.
you were going to say?
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought he was just cold.
No, no, no. It loves you so much, Debbie, that, he just doesn't want you, and you would, I don't think you'd be uncomfortable with that because these are friends that and you know that they're not, up to anything, no good or anything. So,
Exactly.
but I respect that about Marty. I really do. And maybe there are some others of you listening who are in that same position right now. You kind of you reserve the affectionate, the hug or the kiss on the cheek or even on the lips to just your spouse or your kids. But how do you greet other people? Say you go, like I go to church, Debbie, and you see people that you know. And for me, it's just instinctual. I am a hugger. Okay, not just anybody, because I'll tell you what. This is unfortunate, but in today's cultural climate where we have, we've had the abuse situations, and I have a very good friend who was falsely accused of molesting his adopted son, spent time in prison. It was horrible. He never would have done such a thing. So, I tend to be kind of guarded and on the lookout for that, but
Right.
I try not to let that, take away the joy of greeting people. When I see you, Debbie, I give you a hug. When I see Marty, I
Yeah.
give him a hug,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
maybe so. Those of you who are listening, are you that way? Are you more free with the affection, or do you find yourself a little bit more reserved? And there's no right or wrong answer here, folks. We're just trying to learn and kind of get a sense of how people do this, and maybe get a better understanding of this. 833-288-3986. We got calls coming in.
We do. And also how we can maintain, being Christ in the world, because we are to be Christ in the world. And so if we're kind of standoffish and we don't want to embrace or encounter somebody affectionately on some level, could that be, where they're thinking, well, I don't want to be like this person. They're not very Christ-like. And even with the sign of peace during Mass, I think that is very important too. I try very hard to make eye contact during the sign of peace. I'm very big on that. And I try to get to everybody around me in a 360-degree circle around me. I try very hard to do that, and I'm really proud of myself because I don't even pull out the hand sanitizer afterwards. So that always makes me happy that I've accomplished that.
All right, well, we're going to get set to go to your calls here in a minute. It's 833-288-3986. Special invitation to anyone if you are from a different country, a different culture. Maybe you came to the United States and things are very, very different here than they were in your country. Or maybe you're someone who has encountered somebody like that. Maybe they come to you from another culture and they're just very physically affectionate, hugs and kisses, and it kind of caught you off guard. Let's share our stories here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Mary Lou, you're going to be our first caller in Rochester. Stay with us.
We know you like listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio, but have you thought about bringing them to your next event? No matter what type of event you're hosting, parish mission, conference, or retreat, trust Jerry and Debbie to make it come alive. Begin the process today of taking your presentation to the next level of success. For information on booking Jerry and Debbie, visit take2show.com, click on the J&D logo. Living the Beatitudes with Father Bjorn.
Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Saint Josemaria Escriva says that we are called to light up the pathways of this earth by being sowers of peace and joy. This comes from being aware that we are sons and daughters of God. On the road of life, though, we find dangers, but God walks with us every step of our life, pouring out the gifts of His Holy Spirit upon us. Our Lady is our companion, like GPS in our car, connected to the cloud and bringing the latest updates to help us navigate our journey and get out of traffic on the way to the eternal kingdom. We don't want to get into family fights on our way to God's vacation destination, but we should be these sowers of peace and joy. We shouldn't accept substitutes, accept only the authentic identity of being His children, His sons and daughters. Let's grow in happiness and bring peace to those around us. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio, and we're so glad you joined us. We're talking today about how do you greet others, and phone lines are filling up rather quickly, so if you want to get in, please share with us your experience of this. 1-833-288-3986. Just real quickly, Jerry, I got to highlight my friend's show, Catholic Connection with Teresa Tomeo, tomorrow morning, 9 Eastern Time. Teresa and her guests share their Catholic perspective on the day's news and newsmakers. And Teresa does a fabulous job. I constantly tell her that just how she is incredible on how she uncovers the news and presents it to us in such a real way that we can understand it and we get the truth. So Teresa Tomeo, Catholic Connection, tomorrow morning, 9 Eastern Time. Okay.
All right. As promised, Mary Lou is first, listening to the Station of the Cross in Rochester, New York. Hi, Mary Lou. Thanks for being first up on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hello, Jerry. Hello, Debbie. And if I met you face-to-face, I would give you a hug.
Oh, thanks.
Because I love everyone as God loves me. And even if I saw you 3 hours ago, I would still greet you. I love to see the eyes get real big and the smiles. And, you know, I pray every day that I may see the light of Jesus through others' eyes, and that they may see the light of Jesus through mine. Mm-hmm. And hugs and kisses to husbands and wives and whoever I greet. I just feel within me that that's God within me.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're very warm.
I go to other churches, I do the same thing.
Yeah. Well, Mary Lou, you're very warm, and you're showing that, and you're not afraid to show that. Okay, so here's the question. How do people respond to you?
Great.
Good.
Absolutely.
That's good. Then that gives you the affirmation to keep going, which is wonderful. Sometimes people get offended. I mean, where I live, it's a little bit more standoffish. I don't know if it's that way in California, Jerry, but here it can be a little standoffish.
Yeah, I think it can. But I think, Mary Lou, you hit the key point. You said, you want to convey Christ in you, and people are going to pick up on that. And really, I think, we're all very intuitive. And if somebody comes up to us and they want to, hug or embrace or get physical or something, and there's some kind of, maybe not healthy motive, I think we pick up on that. And I think we also pick up on, you come up, like you said, you make your eyes get big, you can make that eye contact, you're smiling, and you're just showing joy. People know what your motive and intention is. So I think for most people, they would be comfortable with that. I would be comfortable getting a hug from you and giving you one, Mary Lou.
Oh, great. Even with my second grade CYO basketball players, and when they see me, they run up and hug me.
Oh,
but,
how cute.
We take that course in the diocese, creating a safe place.
Yeah.
In the Diocese of Rochester.
Right,
and I visit a lot of elderly people in their homes taking communion, and I go to nursing homes. And, the elderly, when you see them sitting there, and they were once vibrant young people, but now they need that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
for many of them.
minutes.
Yeah, how long has it been since many of them had any kind of physical
exactly
touch
right.
or
That's right.
a hug, an affectionate
That's
hug?
right.
Yeah, great point.
Well,
Well,
and
I don't
we
want to take too much of your time.
No, Mary Lou, I just want to say real quickly before you go, I was a safe environment trainer for many years in the Diocese of Phoenix, and hugs and pats, on the shoulder and stuff like that. They're necessary. We are, we're that type of being where we most of us, if we haven't been wounded somehow with abuse or something like that, there's that need to feel that connection, and so if it's properly done with the consent, of people feeling comfortable, then yeah, I mean, it's very healthy. And I can relate that to my mom, who's 87 years old. And this just happened last week. I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago, before I left for pledge drives. I went to go hug her, and her collar, the tag of her collar was sticking out. So I reached behind her neck and I pushed her tag in, and by doing that I had my hands on, like, kind of on her shoulders, and I could hear her kind of breathe this sigh of, oh, that felt good to have somebody,
Right.
and it was so beautiful. So then I ended up hugging her and kissing her, for like 5 minutes. But it's very interesting how we are in need of that, so in a healthy way. And so that's really beautiful, I think, what you do. So sending you virtual hugs, Mary Lou.
Oh, you too. And at my age now, I can say and do things I couldn't when I was younger. So that's great.
Yeah, we can
Bless
get
your
away
heart,
with a
Mary
lot
Lou.
as we
Yeah.
get older.
Well,
Thanks,
God
Mary
bless
Lou.
both of you. I love your show. I listen to EWTN all the time, and just love all day for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Love back to you as well. Yeah, Debbie, you mentioned you taught in the Safe Environment Program, and I think one of the really unfortunate fruits of the the abuse scandal and just the climate that we live in today is that people have kind of pulled back from legitimate expressions of affection. And I'll tell you what, I go to the gym every day, and I usually end my exercise with some time in the sauna or the steam room. And I'll tell you what, if a minor walks in, I'm out. I leave right away, just simply because, not because I have any issues, but because it's just not. It's not a context that I want to be in, just because of some of the things that are thrown around and the accusations and all this. So
Absolutely,
it's really unfortunate. And I see a lot of young boys and young girls. They're kind of wandering in life. You can tell they're a little bit lost. I'd love nothing more than to go up and just put my arm around them and say, you're loved. God loves you, and you're a good little kid. And you know what? You just can't do it sometimes. So
Yeah, that's
it's
very
too
true.
bad. Anyway, sorry, I'm rambling.
25 years no, you're not, actually. It's actually a really good subject we should do a show on, because I was actually I was a religious education leader for 25 years, Jerry, and I taught safe environment, and they would ask me all the time, Debbie, how are you able to be around all these kids and junior high kids and high school kids? I was never alone with them, never, ever, ever. Even when some of my junior high kids and high school kids had emergency situations, I would grab another catechist and I would approach that child. I was never alone, and it's not because I was in fear of anything I was doing. It was I needed to protect myself and also to protect that child, and it was just the smart, practical, common sense thing to do. And so it never changed the way I related to the children, Jerry. I just was very aware of it. So I think that's really, really healthy what you do, and I think others should do that too. You don't want to overstep and think that it's going to be received the right way, when sometimes in this world it's just not anymore. Okay, Mary Lou freed up a line, so you can jump in at 1-833-288-3986. This is already turning into a very interesting discussion. And so next up is Robert in Houston, Texas on Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Robert. Welcome.
Hi, how you guys doing?
Doing well, Robert.
What good, great topic. What has always bothered me, and this is just me, but I also believe there should be a standard, but again, it's just me, is that when I see a mother or a father kissing their child, no matter how young the child is, on the lips, I don't know why, it just bothers me. I get uncomfortable, and I don't see that a lot, but I see it enough that I wanted to raise the topic and we'll see what you guys had to say about that.
Yeah. Well, Robert, this is just me personally. I tend to agree with you. I've always felt a little bit odd about it as well. I have two boys. I used to kiss them all over their face and their little hands and their little feet, but I never kissed them on their lips. It felt weird to me. I don't know why. It just did. But but some of my friends would do that in just just a beautiful, loving, playful way, with no other agenda attached to it. But for me, it didn't look right and it didn't feel right. I just didn't. I don't know why. And that was just me. So I tend to agree with you on the sense that but I don't have a real definite reason as to why it doesn't look right to me. I just know it didn't feel right to me. What do you think about that, Jerry?
Well, I would be in the same camp with both of you, and that's just me personally. And what I think it comes down to, partly at least, is kind of how we look at the structure of relationships. You've got husband and wife, where that seems certainly not only appropriate, but husband and wife should show that affection to each other. Parent-child, it just feels a little bit different for us. And yet, if you look at other cultures, and I don't know where these are, but there have to be cultures in the world where that's not only done, but it's probably very quite normal. So I think it's maybe, an American thing, Robert, or that we're uncomfortable with it just because of, our own conditioning. I'm reminded of, Tom Brady, the Patriots quarterback, this big, to-do that was in the news here a few weeks ago about he did this video where his son is laying on a massage table and he goes over and he gives his son what everybody called a long kiss on the lips. I think it was like, a second or 2 seconds or something. And I did a search just now on the internet. Go ahead, Robert.
No, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to bring up the recent example, and I thought it was the other way around. Tom Brady was shirtless on his back, like
you're
a massage
right.
table or something, and his 14-year-old son came, and
yes.
the kisses first again kissing, and then second it was a little bit long, and then this is. Somebody like me looks at that and said they're having tonsil hockey, and I just feel I wasn't the only one. I only heard about it because I read a lot of news, and a lot of people were upset with that picture.
You're right. It was Brady on the massage table and his son who goes over to kiss him. But the point I was going to make, Robert, is I did a search for that story, and I clicked on images, and it's interesting here. There's a picture of Tom Brady kissing his father on the lips after a Super Bowl win. There's a picture of Tom Brady kissing what looks like his mother on the lips. There's a picture of him kissing what looks like his wife on the lips. And then there's that picture of him kissing
so that was normal to them.
His son. So, yeah, maybe in the Brady home, this is how they were raised and grew up. But I think, bottom line, if I had kids, and I don't, Robert, I think I would probably tend to not kiss them on the lips myself, but
But I mean, Robert, I don't necessarily
criticize any parents who do.
Right. I don't necessarily think it's wrong to do that. I'm just saying, for me, it just was very uncomfortable. I'll tell you another thing that was uncomfortable for me raising kids is I was one of these parents that I did not take food from my mouth and put it into my child's mouth. I just wasn't. I mean, talk about a germ thing. I just didn't like that whole thing. But I know I have a lot of friends that do that. They'll take a bite of a grape, take half of it, and then put the other half in their little kid's mouth or something. That just wasn't me. I was just a very, what can I say? I'm kind of a germaphobe, Robert. There you go.
Kind of.
I feel that I'm not a germaphobe. I have this 10-second rule, and then then I break it. Then there's the 15-second rule. But I'm not going to take something out of my mouth and share it with my wife. But I'm thinking maybe it's cultural, goes back to whatever country we all came from with the Bradys and some of your friends. But I need to bite my tongue and say that for me that's just uncomfortable. But
for others it may not
I won't
be.
say anything.
Right.
Well, Robert, let me ask you this.
That's why I'm glad you brought it up so I could bring it out.
Right. Well, let me ask you this real quick. We got a break in about 30 seconds, Robert. But other than kissing your children on the lips, I mean, do you tend to be affectionate? I mean, do you hug people that you know but maybe aren't related to, or within your home? Do you show gestures of affection?
I like giving bear hugs to my buddies and my and only to the wives of my buddies do I give them an arching hug and a kiss on the cheek. I don't know if that's my Mexican background or not, but it's nothing beyond hi. I'm here.
Sure.
Right.
And,
you sound like
that's
my husband.
About it.
Right.
Yeah, and
There
they
you
know
go.
that, Robert, and your heart's in the right place, so nothing wrong with that at all, Deb.
Okay, so I was just reminded about my girlfriend. She said you used to also kiss your boys on their belly because it would make them laugh, and that's true. I did. Okay, because that was hilarious. You know how you probably don't remember that, Jerry, but when you're kids, you can make them laugh by kissing them, and then they just crack up.
Yeah, well, sometimes dads will do that motorboat sound with their lips.
Yeah, and the kids just crack up. They
Oh,
think
they
it's
love it, yeah.
hilarious. Yeah. So there you go.
Thanks,
All right.
Robert. Thank you. Appreciate you joining us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Kathy is next, followed by Jackie and others, talking about affection in our greetings. Where are you on the spectrum with this? Join this conversation. We're learning a lot already, and we know you have something insightful and inspiring to share at 833-288-3986. I'm Jerry Usher with Debbie Georgiani and you.
Father John Riccardo.
When you and I wake up every day, do we strive to know Jesus or not? Quick question to you and me right now. Is that what you and I are doing every single day?
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
And this is an EWTN Bookmark Brief. I'm Doug Keck, your host. I just finished interviewing Colleen C. Mitchell on Bookmark on her latest book, Who Does He Say You Are?, published by Franciscan Media, available through the EWTN Religious Catalog. So tell us, Colleen, what's this book about?
It is a scriptural walk through Jesus' encounters with 12 women in the Gospels that allows Catholic women, Christian women to look at the question of who Jesus says we are, what our identity is in him, and grow from wherever we are in our faith into a deeper understanding and a deeper intimacy of who we are in Christ and the relationship he desires to have for us. And so this is a example of how women found new life in him so that we can follow them into that new life.
Right, and our Lord wants that for all of us. Okay, very good. Colleen C. Mitchell, author of Who Does He Say You Are? Women Transformed by Christ in the Gospels, published by Franciscan Media, available through the EWTN Religious Catalog. And this has been an EWTN Bookmark Brief. Thanks.
EWTN's National Catholic Register is America's most trusted Catholic news source. Try 6 free issues with our compliments. If you like it, you can subscribe later at a 35% savings off the newsstand price. Visit ncregister.com today.
We need EWTN Radio for the reason that Mother Angelica founded this entire enterprise. She always saw this as a spiritual growth network. It was to be an enterprise in media that reached people in all aspects of their life. She saw this as a holistic approach to reaching the whole person in the middle of the world and bringing them truth and life.
Raymond Arroyo thinks Catholic radio is important. So should you.
Hi, this is Cy Kellett. Later today on Catholic Answers Live, 2 hours with one of the world's great apologists, Tim Staples. Open forum both hours today on Catholic Answers Live, 6 p.m. Eastern, here on EWTN Radio. Now back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Okay, thanks for joining us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. And there is 2 open phone lines. So why don't you jump on one of the lines and share with us about your method of greeting others? You know, is it hugs, kisses, a shake, a look in the eye, maybe a side hug, maybe a pat on the shoulder, whatever. We just want to hear from you. 1-833-288-3986. Jerry, my text messages are just blowing up. Everybody's loving this show. Everybody's weighing in with different methods that they use.
Well, maybe you'll get a chance to share some of those, and we do have some social media and emails to get to, but we are going to go, as promised, to Kathy next, listening on Redeemer Radio in Indiana. Kathy, we are glad that you've joined us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you guys?
Great. Glad you called.
Good. Thanks for taking my call. I greet people with a smile because I find that if you smile at someone, they'll automatically smile back at you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also an extraordinary minister at church, and we had a priest that told us that if we would smile, it might be the only smile someone gets that whole week.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
so we should smile at everybody. And behavior to me breeds behavior. So if you smile at somebody, they'll tend to smile back at you.
Right. Well, Kathy, first off, thanks for taking on that ministry, Extraordinary Minister of Holy Communion. Thank you so much for doing that, because that's a very, very wonderful ministry to be a part of. It's an intimate encounter when folks are coming up to receive the body and blood of Jesus, and so that's really important. The other thing too is Jerry, you're gonna remember this. Jerry and I used to work a lot of pledge drives in California, and we have heard of stories where people they were contemplating ending their life, and it was because of encountering somebody else with a smile that they thought for a minute, and they thought, wait a minute, there's still hope. There's still love out there. There's still acceptance out there. And so, Kathy, that is a very big other ministry that you're in, the Smile Ministry, because we know that it has saved people's lives. And so that's huge. It's not a small thing. It's a big thing. But a lot of us walk around with grumpy faces on, and it's very unfortunate because we don't have to do that. We could be helping one another. And so you've chosen to do that. So God bless you for that. I think it's an awesome 2 ministries that you're in. What do you think, Jer?
Well, Kathy, first of all, you mentioned that people will open up and smile back at you. Is that pretty universal? Do you see sometimes people are a little bit caught off guard by your friendliness and your smile?
Once in a while, you'll have somebody that is just grouchy and, just ignores you or just kind of gives you a weird look. But, I find the majority of people will smile back at you, and even some people with the stoniest faces, because I think really people just need that kind of brightness in their day.
Right. Well, you live in Indiana, and there are a lot of friendly people there. Wonderful, friendly people. I will share this. Every day after the show, Debbie knows this, I go to my gym, and I swim about a half a mile every day. And right before, the reason I time it that way is from 9:30 to 10:30 Pacific time, there's a water class, one of these water exercise classes. And there are a lot of elderly people in there, and they're doing some great exercise and getting some cardio and just getting out and socializing. They all get along really well. And so it's been so long now that I've been showing up just about the time that ends so I can get in the pool and get my swim done. And I don't talk to a lot of these people, but I smile at them and they smile at me, and they just light up, And for a long time, just yesterday actually, I smiled for the first time at 2 of the older ladies there, and they were kind of initially like, oh, a little bit surprised, and then they just beamed, they just lit up, So yeah, unlike even, it doesn't even have to be a hug, Debbie. I mean, if you just show affection with a smile, people will appreciate that. It could change, like you said, it could change their life.
Well, in this kind, Kathy,
that's great too, but I think that some people can be put off by that. So you have to know who to hug, I think.
Right. But Kathy, this kind of relates to tomorrow's show as well, because it's talking about wanting to belong, the human need of acceptance. And so this relates. I hope you get to listen tomorrow too, because this will probably be part 2 of today, because I think we're in a world that's starved for this kind of affection and acceptance because of the fact that we have such, advanced technology that keeps us really apart. When you think about it, it can bring us together, but it also keeps us very far apart. So this is very interesting. Thank you. Thanks again, Kathy, for bringing another perspective on. I'm glad we brought smiles into it as well, because I think it's very, very important. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Kathy. Jackie next in Hoxie, Kansas, and Jackie is listening to us on Real Presence Radio, that growing, fantastic radio network. Hi, Jackie. Welcome to Take 2 with Jerry and Debbie.
Hello. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I recently encountered a man at a funeral. It was an out-of-state funeral. I knew very few people there, but I observed this family. It was 3 generations of the most devout people I think I have ever seen, and the grandfather of the family just radiated so much joy. He just had this beautiful look of love on his face through the entire Mass. And after the funeral, it's the custom there to have a dinner for all the people who attended the funeral. And I went up to him and I was telling him how much I appreciated just observing him, which sounds a little creepy, but it was just really, it was hard not to. And I have a lot of problem with joy. I'm surrounded by a lot of grumpy people. a lot of pessimists, and so I have a lot of trouble, losing my own joy. And he took my hands and he said, "I'm so glad to see you." And I couldn't help it. I hugged him and I said, "But I've never met you before." And he said, I know, it's so wonderful to see you." And I really felt almost like I was being hugged by Jesus. I mean, it was just the way that he made a stranger feel welcome.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably one of the most wonderful experiences, and I needed that. I really, really needed that because like I said, I'm surrounded by a lot of negativity, but it was definitely a blessing to meet that man.
Well, and Jackie, here's the thing. You were open to it. You needed it. You said that a few times, and he gave that, and he displayed that and was an example of it. And so that filled that need. And so I encourage people all the time who are very warm like that and who are free to be able to express themselves in that way, that even if you meet up with people who are resistant or people who are not ready to receive that or even reject it, don't let that stop you from who you are. And the reason why I say that is because, Jackie, I'm a hugger, and I've gone up to people before who are listeners to Take Two. And I'm just a hugger, and I'll say to them, "Hey, I'm a hugger." And they'll say, "Yeah, but I'm not." And I'm like, "Okay, that's okay. That's your place, but it doesn't stop me from being who I am." And so I think I give that person a lot of credit, and I'm happy that you were in a place to affirm him and also fill the need that you had. So it was a win-win. And I think as human beings,
it really was.
We need that healthy connection. See, this world gives us all the distorted, unhealthy connections. Okay, that's what we hear about all the time. All the abuse situations, all the problems, all the wrong treatment of others. I get that, but then there's the healthy side of it that we need to fill. Otherwise, we're going to be looking for love in all the wrong places, like that country song says. You know what I'm saying, Jackie?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I do. It was exactly what I needed. And, for people who don't believe in Christ, and to get such an affirmation of God's love right there, when, there was a suffering family there, and yet this man was so overjoyed just being in the presence of the Blessed Sacrament and being there at the Mass, and it was just beautiful to behold.
Wow. What a great experience, Jackie. And like you said, it was so affirming, and it was at a time when it really came in handy for you. You really needed that to take place in your life. And God does that. God's timing is always just like that. And I just thank you, Jackie, for your call. I just really want to take that as a springboard, Debbie, to encourage anybody who's listening who might be lonely, or like you said, tomorrow's topic, acceptance and wanting to fit in. Turn to God. Let God be your comfort and your source, and ask Him, God, bring that beautiful person into my life who will say the right thing, who will smile at me. Maybe it's that hug that I need. Just ask God to do that for you, because He really, really does not want you to suffer in loneliness and agony and so forth. So God bless you, Jackie, for that call. Billy is going to be next to 833-288-3986. Who else wants to weigh in on this conversation about how we show affection? It's a different culture by culture. Every person is unique and may have different comfort levels in this area. Are you someone who is more free in expressing affection through a healthy hug or a kiss, or do you tend to be the type who's a little bit more reserved on that sort of thing? 833-288-3986. Debbie, may I read a couple of things that came in via social media?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, our friend Ron in Los Angeles, he sending a smiley face and a hug. Body language says a lot on how to respond to another. I was fortunate to be with huggable people during the last 10 years especially, even having priest friends who received hugs from me of thanks and greetings, one of whom has been called home recently. We'll pray for him. He says, I treated like an uncle when he was in town. God bless you all, your brother in Christ, Ron. And let's see, this was interesting. On take2show.com, Anthony posted, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but this is the way he likes to greet people. Dia Ismer Agit. That's an Irish greeting. God and Mary be with you. And I probably just mutilated it, Anthony. I'm sorry if I did.
Nice. And then real quickly, can we share a mutual friend of ours who weighed in via text message, says that given his French culture, he always kissed his sons on the lips, and that was part of his French background. So, like we said, different cultures display affection in different ways, and I think that was excellent that he weighed in on it. And his boys are really sweet. They're all grown now, and they're darling. So all good. Okay, can I give the number real quickly because we have an open? Sure. Okay, we have an open phone line, so you can jump in on it real quickly if you want to get in on this very active show. 1-833-288-3986. You can tell us about your experience or how you conduct yourself when you're greeting one another affectionately. Like Billy's going to be up next in Pensacola, Florida, on Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Billy. Thanks so much for waiting, and welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Okay. Yes. I enjoy your program, watch it all I listen to it all the time. Sit in the garage and watch people go by, wave at them, and some of them we talk. But my real concern is I wanted to tell you about, I married into an Italian family in 1950 for 68 years, and so I know what I saw from her family and the friends. Every time someone met, whether they were new or old, the men hugged the men and kissed the ladies. Mm-hmm. And I sort of picked up on that. I think it's an excellent way of showing a greeting.
Well, Italians, Billy, tend to be very affectionate by nature. We tend to be. I mean, that could be a stereotype. It depends on the situation and growing up and stuff like that. But just by nature. And so we hug, we kiss, we slug one another. And then after we end up, arguing with one another, we go back and hug each other. So, I mean, it's kind of a strange situation, but it works. So I don't know. I'm sure you would.
Circle.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. For 68 years, I followed it and enjoyed every darn minute of it.
So you had to kind of adjust a little bit, Billy, is what you're saying, and you made that adjustment, it sounds like.
Well, it was a favorable adjustment, Yeah. I came from I got sort of a normal Methodist family, and there were 12 kids in my grandma's family, and my real problem basically was my mother. We lived so close to, her mother and dad and the children. They all called my mother sister, and my daddy Arch. So us kids didn't call mom. We called her sister, and he called my daddy Arch. And I never got away from that until I left home. And therefore, I felt like I lost an awful lot by not having really a mama and daddy that I referred to as mama and daddy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
But I really enjoy now going to church, watching the guys take care of the babies. There's nothing in the world that can satisfy me more than that.
Well, you sound like you got a great heart, Billy, and I think a real sensitivity to other people's souls, people of all ages. And boy, 68 years of marriage and being, with that Italian family, I'm sure you got a lot of opportunities to share affection in many, many healthy ways. And I'm sure it was shown back to you, too, because you sound like the type that people can easily love and be around and show affection toward, Billy. Thank you for being with us here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie again. I know you've called the show before, and it's great to hear from you. God bless your day, Billy. Hey, if you are living in an area where, believe it or not, Debbie, I've been in Catholic radio about 20 years, and everywhere I go, I've traveled extensively. People just say, hey, Jerry, tell us about your local Catholic radio station. And every time I'd say, we don't have one. They say, what? It seems like God always had me in Catholic radio, but moving around to areas where there wasn't. We now have a low-power FM. It doesn't really come in very well where I am, but I bring this up because if there's anybody listening, if you're in an area that does not yet have an AM or an FM Catholic radio station, there is a solution to that problem. Now, it's simple, but it's not easy. Okay, it takes a lot of work and prayer and, of course, fundraising and all of that. But people all over this country are doing it in areas everywhere. So if you would like to maybe pray about being the person to, you don't have to do it alone. Maybe start a group. Get a group of your close, dedicated friends together. Start praying, weekly, monthly, whatever. Bring your pastor in or a priest or a deacon or somebody. And just start the ball rolling with prayer, and then make the phone call to EWTN, and you could say to yourselves, once you talk to Jack Williams, hey, this is doable. Jack is at 205-795-5756. That's 205-795-5756, and you could be the person to bring Catholic radio to your area. Okay, Deb, it's yours.
Just don't call Jack next week because he's getting married.
That's right. He's a little preoccupied right now.
He's not going to get back to you right away. Okay. Up next is Laura, driving through Wyoming. Is that or West Virginia? I'm sorry. You know what? I'm getting older, Laura. See, I couldn't see the screen.
Well, I drive the tri-state area. We'll call it Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Ohio. I'm a sales rep, so I love listening to you guys. I have a sister named Debbie, love her, and so I really enjoy the Catholic radio because it lets me, feel like part of another Catholic family. And my mom raised us as a teen Catholic, so and all my children are baptized at, and we practice. And I do love this radio station. I wanted to tell you that. So thank you for having me. But I just wanted to say that I've lived in Alabama, West Virginia, and I grew up in New Jersey. If you hear that, that's what you hear. But I find that affection is different in, culturally in each state too. That I find very interesting. When growing up in South Jersey, people were very affectionate. You know what I mean? People, all my neighbors hugged and kissed me every time they saw me. The priest at my church, I sat on his lap. I loved Brother Joe. He was my best friend. But it wasn't like that when I moved to West Virginia. It was much different. They were nice, neighborly, but they weren't affectionate. Mm-hmm. It was very unusual. And then when I moved to Alabama, there wasn't a lot of Catholics in Alabama. I did find St. Bede's. There was one Catholic church. But I did go to that one. And again, as hospitable as the Southerners were, I loved them. They were so sweet to me. They would do anything for you like that. But they weren't as affectionate as you might think. Mm-hmm. And so it was like, I just naturally am, I'm very bubbly and I like to go places and be with people. And I love the human touch. I think there's nothing better than touching somebody's hand. I really don't think there is, because right. I think that's what you're supposed to do. And I did teach school for a very long time and I loved it. And I always hugged all my students. And we actually had a meeting where, they were telling us we couldn't hug the children anymore, because all this, mm-hmm. ridiculous
Safe
things that people would say. Yes, and all that. And everybody hugged me. I was the theater teacher. I had 300 students. And wow. These kids were from inner city school, and they were beautiful children. And I did all the Bible schools when I was there. They let me come and teach theater and teach the lessons. And I hugged them all. And I never stopped. And I said, I'll just have to lose my job, because mm-hmm. I'm not doing anything. I could never turn down a child with their arms open. It just right. seems unchristian and not what the Lord would want you to do. I just don't think so, Right. And so I just try to greet everybody like we're all related and everybody is my friend. That's just how I feel.
Yeah. Well,
and I wish more people were that way.
But I think your take is really appropriate for this show, that you have to, when you go into different environments, different areas of the country and stuff, you have to get the lay of the land, because you can't just walk in and kind of gush all over somebody if that culture doesn't support that. And so that's really interesting that what you said, Laura, and I think that helps all of us to kind of, assess the situation and to act appropriately, but to be Christ the best we can be in all encounters. So I love that. Thank you so much for taking the time while you're driving, and safe traveling to you, driving through West Virginia.
I'm stopped at a store. I won't talk on the phone driving because I don't want to hurt somebody. But I'm at my next location. But I just wanted to let you all know that you're very friendly, and even though it's not a physical touch, you are touching people, which is the same as a physical touch, with the things and the inspiration you give all of us that are struggling every day with everything that there is to struggle with. So you might as well put a smile on and give a hug or a handshake and tell somebody they're beautiful today.
Well, Laura, you and our other listeners are not alone in those struggles. Debbie and I go through the same things, and I think that's one of the things that enables us to be able to, just to share our real lives with you, and you share your real lives with us, and that's what this show is about. So bless you, and glad you made it to your destination safely. We'll be praying for you as you travel out there, Laura, and keep listening. All right, so Natalia in Ontario, Canada. Hi, Natalia. You're next on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, watching on our YouTube channel. Hi, Natalia. We've got 2 minutes, so go ahead.
Hi. I just wanted to say I love your show, and I love today's topic because I myself, I love to hug, and, in my church we hug and kiss, whatever, but not on the lips, but, And I just wanted to say, hugs, heal people, too, because I experienced it myself, with my deacon. We were having, prayer group and adoration, and he just, he saw me crying. I was going through, a really tough time, and he just came over and hugged me, and I felt that Holy Spirit just, almost, do something in me, where I wasn't going to go do something stupid after.
Right, that connection. I would agree with you, Natalia, because I tell you what, there's been times that I am really, really exhausted when I'm on the road. And especially when I was recently just at the Rock in Cleveland, there's this wonderful lady there that gives the most amazing hugs. And when she hugged me, I just felt a strength, a sense of I can keep going on. It's okay. I'm okay. And I think that's that sense of just feeling loved and accepted, and that you belong. And there's a lot to that, Natalia. I really believe that. What do you think, Jerry?
I agree. Absolutely. She used the word healing, and I would agree with that. And Natalia, I don't know how long you've been listening to the show or how often. Many of our listeners know that in 2011 I went through a year of very, very bad depression. It was horrific. And Father Vincent Serpa, who was then the chaplain at Catholic Answers, I had moved on from my work at Catholic Answers, but he heard about my situation, and he insisted that we start to meet once a week. And at the end of our meetings, I still remember, I almost want to cry right now. He would give me he would stand over me and pray over me and give me his blessing, and I would just sob. I would just bawl, and he would take me in his arms, and he didn't hug me. He held me. Debbie, he would hold me. It would sometimes be 5 minutes before I could get the nerve or the courage, to push back away from him and go out and start my car and leave, But I was so hungry for it. I was starving for it. Many people know I didn't have the affection of my father. So I don't want to go on and make this about me and the sob story, because it was really beautiful. But what Father Vincent did and what Natalia's talking about is true. And I'm just so sad that in our culture and our world today, we have all these taboos about this stuff just because of the risks and the lawsuits and the abuse and all that, which is horrific. We don't want to deny that, but
right.
Anyway,
but
sorry.
Natalia, thanks for bringing that to our attention, and we're so glad you called in. And by the way, I love your name. What a gorgeous name. So I just wanted to tell you that. Thank you so much for calling in. Mary and the others, so sorry we couldn't get to you. Father John called in from the LA Religious Congress. We met him there. So you can always email us. Please do at take2, the number 2 at EWTN.com. But tomorrow, this is kind of like a part 2. We're talking about feeling accepted, that the human need to want to belong is so important. And does the world support that or work against us? This is going to be tomorrow's show, Jerry.
Know that you are always in our prayers. Please remember me and Debbie and Rich and Matt and Jeff and everyone at EWTN in your prayers as well. Thank you for listening and calling. Thanks to our affiliates. For Debbie Georgiani, I'm Jerry Escher. We'll talk to